I'd like to make it a discussion today, and I don't know how. Um, I know that I think I'm limited to how many people I can bring on screen, but how to have you guys raise your hands. You might want to just. I know Bernie, you're in the room. Do you have a way to raise your hand to see if I can actually here? I'm going to Bernie, your microphone and camera now turned on. There he is.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, good.
So before I turned on your microphone and camera, was there a way for you to raise hands?
I was looking until I saw it pop up that I can go live, and I just did that. So I
just
didn't
saw
find anything.
Ted Hake raised his hand. Ted, come on screen and let us know how you did that. Catherine Joyner, turning on your camera and microphone so you can come on screen as well. All you have to do is make your camera and your microphone turn green. Hey, Ted, thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Hi, Ted.
Yeah, so give me just a second, Fred. So the emoji thing, whatever it is, up by the settings and the square box, the reactions, you hit that and there's a raise hand in there and an I need help.
Perfect.
Okay, I got to go because somebody just walked in on me.
All right, see you later.
In a few minutes.
Okay, well, I'm not sure. Thanks, Catherine and Mike Battaglia, for raising your hands. Go ahead and take them down now. Is that possible from your end? I don't think I can. I'm looking. Does not look like I can take your hand down. So, Bernie, you're welcome to stay with me.
Okay.
Now that I got your camera turned on, I'm going to go ahead then and share my screen and get started. Thanks for joining me today. The first thing I want to do is kind of go through I got to figure out where, there it is. This is a website called Plural. It used to be, well, it was always Plural, but I used to use a legislative search platform called Open States. Open States was a platform that was created over a weekend-long hackathon by some computer geeks that thought that people should just have access to America's, what's going on Capitol Hill in America. And it evolved into one of those type of sites that you just donated towards. And since then, this company Plural has purchased it. And there's still a free version of Plural. And I'm going to take you through it because I'd like to encourage everybody that's here today and those of you that are watching the recording after the fact to become active in this process of keeping track of what's going on at your own state house, as well as on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., if you like. And so Plural, just like it sounds, Plural dot, oh, I guess their URL is pluralpolicy.com. And you don't have to sign up. There are some benefits to signing up, limited benefits. For example, you can track bills if you sign up. So you can see that I've signed in, I've got account settings and so forth. But I can't tell, but Bernie, you're still on screen, but you've turned your camera off. On the one side where it says legislature, you get a drop down menu, and I'm going to pick Colorado because I had Bernie on the screen a second ago. And then I'm going to type in parentheses, accessory. Oh, I can't type. Dwelling units. And so is this the House bill? Yeah, 241152. And over here you can see that I'm tracking it. And it gives you a quick little description. It says straight out accessory dwelling units. And then this other one that seems to have that text in the bill is a cause required for evicting residential tenants. That one I'm not quite so concerned about right now. What I'm amazed at, what just grabbed my attention this year, because this is a process that begins with me about the middle of December. Starting in December, maybe as early as November for some states, the legislatures start getting active, and they're usually only active for maybe through Easter, April, maybe May at the latest, depending on what state it is that you're working with. I think Texas is one that their sessions are like 2 years long. But this is the very busy time for bill tracking in America. And so the more people that I can convince on this webinar and beyond to help search this stuff and search other keywords. For example, over here on the left is my list of all the bills that I'm tracking. I lost track, but I think it's coming up on 80 different bills. 76 of them are about accessory dwelling units or ADUs. 4 of them are about like House Bill 159 in Alaska and Senate Bill 73 in Alaska is an act creating licensure for residential designers. And the reason why AIBD, or in most cases me, keeps an eye on that is because sometimes the interior designers, in their zest to become registered or licensed, will create legislation that the exemptions in their act do not mirror the architectural exemptions in that state. It happened a lot in Pennsylvania for a long time. Every year, it seemed like, for about 5 years. And so what happens is they basically propose a bill that, if it was passed, would make it to where you could design a house without being a licensed architect, but you could not design the inside of the house because you would have to be a licensed interior designer. So we keep tabs on that. And Alaska Bill HB 159 and SB 73, the only thing that really they've mirrored the architectural exemptions perfectly, but they're changing the name of the Architecture, Engineering, and Surveying Board to the Design Professionals Board. And so we're keeping an eye on that, because we want to make sure that they don't make it to where you can't call yourself a design professional in Alaska without being licensed. And then the other two that we're watching is Oklahoma. Oh, I passed it. Oklahoma House Bill 3253 and Senate Bill 1962. And what those two bills are doing is trying to clean up the exemptions in the Architectural Act, among other things. They're trying to do a lot of housekeeping, but the way the exemptions are written is that all the occupancies that they list in the exemption are exempted up to two stories. And they include single-family residential in the list of uses or occupancies that are exempted. But the IRC covers single-family dwellings, duplexes, and townhouses that go up to 3 floors. So what they're doing is they're taking the single-family notation out and creating its own paragraph for it. And they're specifically stating 1 and 2 family dwellings that are designed using the International Residential Code. So, so I don't know if the case has been that in Oklahoma, people have been designing 3-story houses, and then now somebody just decided to read the fine print. But they're going to make it to where you can legally do 3-story houses. Now, Jack Butler, our legislative liaison and the chair of our codes committee at AIBD, has been in touch with those bills' sponsors because the AIBD public policy on the topic is that single-family dwellings, duplexes, and townhouses that are designed according to the IRC should be exempted. And so they have been open to the idea of amending their bill. The last I heard from Jack is that they were just deciding when and how to do it. The bill, we started working with them 2 or 3 weeks ago. The bill was supposed to be introduced yesterday, and I've got a meeting Thursday morning with Jack Butler. So stay tuned. We'll have some emails that'll probably go out to everybody on that. But getting back to the topic of ADUs, you can see that there's a ton of activity going on in America. And from what I can tell, it's all about trying to help resolve the housing shortage and affordability crisis. And for example, I looked up this one in Colorado. When you click on it, it'll give you the bill text. Sometimes it doesn't give you the bill text, but it'll give you a downloadable PDF of it. And over to the right, there's like a summary. Now, this does not look like a summary. That looks like a whole nother bill. But 9 times out of 10, it's usually a little shorter. But this one here, what they're doing to try to just give you an idea is require the local municipalities to allow an ADU in all single-family dwelling zoning areas. And then they also want to create an ADU grant, which allows for affordable loans, down payment assistance, and lower fees for, I'm not sure if it would be impact fees or growth fees or just lower permit fees. But like I said, here on the left, you can see the bill text. I encourage everybody to go in, choose their state. I'll do that again for you one more time. You come up here at the top, and for some reason, Congress is always the default. What's another one I want to show? Oh yeah, Massachusetts. So you click on Massachusetts, and then you go up here and accessory dwelling units. Somehow I got the federal stuff in there too, which, there we go, Massachusetts. I don't know if it says here, but somewhere I know over here in my list, when you hover over, there you go. Here's one. An act to promote Yes in My Backyard is the nickname that they've given. And there's 4 bills that are all dubbed Yes in My Backyard. And what they do is they make it to where no zoning shall prohibit the ability to have an accessory dwelling unit. Let's see, 1379. And then not only that, but I don't know if you guys know the feature, but if you hit the Control and the F button at the same time, you'll get a search feature that pops up in the top of your page. And when I put in rent, it says that as a part of the report, the secretary, this is somewhere in here, no zoning ordinance or bylaw shall prohibit or require a special permit for the use of land or structures for an accessory dwelling unit or the rental thereof in a residential or mixed zoning district. So there's another state, I forget which one it is, but in their bill, they don't come out and say that, and maybe it does, and I just haven't found it, that the purpose of this is to create rental units. But they do restrict the local municipalities in their state from allowing them to put special conditions in the zoning that says that it has to be a family member or somebody over a certain age that lives in the ADU. So again, this is all about creating affordable housing in America, and everybody, whether they know it or not, is starting to say yes in my backyard. I see it as a great opportunity for additional income for people in America, people that own single family homes. I live in a lot that would be really tough to build on. It's a quarter acre, I think, or maybe even less. And oh no, not a yeah, it's 50 by 150, I think, whatever that is, 60 by 150. So with the lot coverage, which I can't find anything in any of these bills that would change what the lot coverages would be, although some of the bills, like in Massachusetts, Virginia, New Hampshire, the bills specifically say that the local municipality cannot create setbacks that are more restrictive than the setbacks that are already established for the primary residence on the property. And I remember reading one place, I think it's Virginia, where they can even go as close to 4 feet from the property line. Let's see, that's VA. I did not mark it down. I think it's 900. And then also, if we go up here to our search function, I think it was Virginia that restricts the permit fees for the ADUs to $100, which I'm not even sure a city can do the inspections and the plan reviews for less than, for that cost. So where some of these grants are coming from, where the cities are going to get refunded or compensated for lowering their permit fees and the process costing them more money than what they're collecting. I don't know if anybody's answered that yet. Right now, I've got a lot that I'm trying to follow. And when you mark the bill to be tracked, like up here, it says I'm tracking the bill. Once you mark that in the morning, if there's any movement on the bill, for example, that interior designer's bill in Alaska for the last 2 weeks is supposed to have been heard by one of the committees, I think the labor committee. And seemed like every other morning I was getting an email saying that the committee had postponed their discussion. And now I haven't gotten any emails for probably 4 or 5 days. So it's very possible that particular bill may get stuck in committee. And that happens to a lot of bills. But all of this, I think, stems from the California bill, and I don't have it tracked, but we can go back to the homepage, get rid of Congress, click on California. It was AB 1332. This was the bill that was approved last year, signed into law by the governor in October. And it's the bill that would authorize, or did authorize, local agencies to charge a fee to an applicant for the pre-approval of an accessory dwelling unit as specified. The bill requires the agency, meaning the cities and counties, to pre-approve accessory dwelling units and the contact information of the applicant on the local agency's website. They have this has to be done by January 1st, 2025. And there's been a lot of cities that I found. Here's the City of Oakland's website. Apply for detached ADU with pre-approved plans. And over here to the right, here's the pre-approved studio plan. And they provide you the full set of working drawings that the city has already deemed as approved. And then they have instructions on how to go through and apply for the permit. You have to be a builder or you've got to be the property owner to apply for the permit. Now there's this, the city takes on the title block. I was at Oakland. It was not Oakland. Let's see. County of San Diego. Oh, Shasta County. Yeah, Shasta County put a notice here that says special thanks to local architects and design professionals who participated in this state grant funded program and provided professional design services for these plans. CMC Architecture, One Shop, Rad Studio, and Winter Drafting. And so here are the plans that the city provides for the cost of the permit. And here is, who's this? This is Los Angeles County. They provide one that's pre-approved for free. It's a 1-story, 1-bedroom with options. And then they have this list of local design firms who have submitted plans and gotten them pre-approved. Now, I've not been able to find the process in submitting your plans and getting them pre-approved, but hopefully we might have somebody online here that can help us out with that here in a few minutes. So I've got Oakland, Shasta County. Here's their one, or I'm sorry, they've got A, B, C, D, E, and F. So that's what, 5 different plans available that are pre-approved. So it seems to be a combination of free plans that we pre-approved that you can use, and then also a combination of free plans and plans from designers that you can purchase that have been pre-approved. And the whole idea of the pre-approved is that you can get your permit in like 7 to 10 days. Basically, all they have to review is the site plan from what I've read. Whether or not that's really working, we'll find out. And then it's starting to spread because, and I think we've got Vicki Wooster in Bend, Oregon online, but she pointed out to me that Bend, Oregon offers this one ADU plan for free with 2 different roof options, which I think this one here with the shed roof actually is kind of nice. I wouldn't mind having that in my backyard. But down here in the right-hand corner, you can see a lot of little fine print. Normally, as designers, that would be the area we would put all of our copyright information. This is kind of the opposite for the cities. That information is like, by accepting this plan, you are holding the city, not liable for anything that happens. We've pre-approved this plan, but we have absolutely no liability that comes with it. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And we've got Kara with her hand up. So I'm going to turn your camera on, Kara. So all you have to do now is turn it on at your end. So anybody else, if you can find the link to raise your hand and come on screen, we're going to see how many people we're limited to get this conversation going. So Bernie, I pulled up Colorado. So Colorado, your state is talking about this. Is there anything you've heard about it? And what do you think of this process?
Yeah, well, I haven't heard anything of any issue or problem. Back when we were going through COVID-19, I had about half of my projects were ADU units. I don't know if you remember me telling you that one time, but since then it's kind of died off. I only have 2 on my desk right now, but I'm not having any issue at all with getting them through the city or the county. I'm not hearing of pre-approved plans. We do have a program here, which I think is really neat. I think most cities probably have it also, but we do have a pre-application program where you can send in your preliminary plans and get all the zoning issues and all of that pre-approved, and then go ahead and finish up the working drawings for the building permit. And I think that's really neat to have because you can kind of take care of all of these zoning type issues that you might run into from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So we have that, but we've been having that for a long time. It works real well for us. But pre-approved plans, we don't see it. I mean, of all the ADUs I've done, and I've probably done maybe 50 in the last 5 years, and every single one of them is different. They're customized for what people want and what they want to use it for. So I find it hard to imagine that. I mean, it'd be like buying a plan out of a plan book. They always come back with changes that have to be done to it because people need this or that, or site conditions or whatever.
Lynn Taylor, I've turned on your camera and microphone. Same thing with Catherine Joyner, Kara DeSaro. Anybody else, raise your hand. I will turn your camera and microphone on. Mike Battaglia, thanks for joining us. How do you feel about cities getting involved in providing free house plans?
Is my microphone on? Yeah. I guess it's their prerogative. Does it take away the freedom of someone to select who they want to design the building? I think it could probably cause more problems than what they really know, but that's just me. People forget about the zoning issue, and that's a harder nut to crack than worrying about pre-approved ADU plans, in my opinion.
Why do you say that?
Well, you brought up your property. In my situation, I've got a single family home on a quarter-acre lot. I can build a detached garage. I can build a detached garden shed. The setback information, the setbacks are there. But I have a problem with issues like life safety. You take an ADU and you got somebody living in the backyard. There's a fire. How does the fire department get there? They have to stretch a hose 100 feet plus between trees and over fences and around bushes to get back to the place. I think that the zoning offices are going to probably control more about ADUs than building departments.
Well, where I come from in South Florida, we're allowed to build accessory dwelling units, but you're not allowed to put a kitchen in them. And you can apply for a special exception when you have a family member or somebody elderly that's living in the space. But that special exception has to be applied for every year. And when it gets to the point where you don't meet that special exception anymore, you're forced by the local municipality to take the kitchen out.
Right.
Because they want to have a guest house, but they don't want you to have a place that you can rent. And all these bills that I'm reading, they're all saying that you can't stop people from renting them out, but you can limit them to say that it has to be a certain length of a link, like more than 90 days, or, because they know that, some people are going to want to use it for Airbnb. And so they're putting in there the ability for a city to require that you have to lease it out for a certain period of time. But the movement seems to be all about creating rental property.
Yeah, and I think that's going to become a bigger of an issue. You got in a nutshell, you got three types of zoning districts. You've got an urban district, and you got a suburban district, and you have a rural district. And when you have those, generally speaking, your properties get bigger, your density gets smaller in the urban areas, and all of a sudden you have an abundance of people living in a smaller area, say in the urban area, and you also have the other problems of the density, the human density issues. And I've run into it before where I could build a detached unit and it could have a kitchen as long as they couldn't cook food. So there's no stove, but it could have a refrigerator and it could have water and it could have a bathroom, but there was no cooking allowed. So does that mean they can always go in there and put in a hot plate? Now, that's somewhat controlled. The other part that gets controlled is the the lot coverage in many places,
Mhm.
the percentage of ground coverage, and that goes back to zoning. You know, so the building codes cover a lot of these issues um, as far as what building anything, but the zoning is the problem, and that when they change the zoning codes, people have a tendency to rise up and complain a lot stronger, whether it's for rental properties or not. And I'll tell you what I've seen. I hate to make this so long-winded, but what I've seen in my area, you have a two-car garage, brick veneer, just 24 by 24, I think was the last one. It was like it was finished and insulated and had heat in it, and it was $72,000. So you got that issue, and then you have how much is that going to cost or increase your property values, and start paying property taxes. Now, a garage for property taxes is a lot cheaper than a dwelling unit that's used for income. So people have
Well,
to
that
look
was
at the other
where,
side.
yeah, there was, I forgot, I had Florida and Georgia both have bills that I jotted down, and I forgot to mention them earlier. The whole premise of those bills are to provide tax relief for accessory dwelling units. So that in Florida, the bill specifically says that the counties don't charge any ad valorem taxes. Now, ad valorem taxes, I don't think cover everything. I think your fire and other taxes may fall outside of ad valorem. I forget what the lines are for that, but there is. Oh, bless you, Lynn.
Sorry.
But anyway, thank you, Mike. Lynn, if you're okay, if you're ready now, go for it. We'll let you go ahead. Thanks for joining us on screen, and then thanks, Steve Shard. It's good to see you. I'll have you speak next.
Yeah, Lynn, those sneezes come out just like you're not even ready for it. It's just like boom. It's happened to me 100 times.
Oh, now you're muted, Lynn.
Okay. I've done a lot of tiny homes or dadoos over the last several years, and we have the tiny home, and then we have the garage apartment, basically. And most people tend to opt for the garage apartment because they get two things for one. Because once they build one, they can't have the other option. So, and I will say I have kind of been shocked. I have a lot of stock plans. I mean, I have a lot of garage stock plans, tiny home stock plans, garage apartment stock plans, and people can choose from them. And the price difference is like an $850 buy the plan. And then if I help them with any zoning or historic, that would be a little extra. But some of these people are spending between $4,000 and $6,000 to modify these things the way they want them. And I was just kind of shocked that people would do that. So I think that providing stock plans is great for people that are on a real budget and don't really care. But I don't think the majority of the population will be that way. I know other cities have offered stock plans for like historic neighborhoods, and I don't know that they've had great success. But I, for one, am not worried about it infringing on my business because I'm like a personal advocate for homeowners, and I also help them with the zoning issue. And honestly, the most complicated thing I do in my business is to tell people what they can build in their backyard. That's it. I mean, building new houses, a development, none of that's harder because we have like 2 or 3 different historic zoning overlays in this city. And in regards to dadoos and just in the historic overlay, because one neighborhood accepted one regulation and one didn't. And so it's just kind of crazy. But a lot of people just want to customize stuff. So that's what I see. I do think they need to allow more dadoos in our city right now. if you want to find, NPR did a story on middle housing is what they call it. And it's really pretty fascinating. Our council people are trying to push forth a bill right now for more middle housing. And I think to allow more dadoos. I'm not sure about that. I haven't read all the bill yet, but it's desperately needed. I wish they would just rip the Band-Aid off and let everybody have a dadu in Davidson County. And in the single family zoning that doesn't have it, they could just say no short-term rentals. So if you have a building that does not have a kitchen in it, that's a stove or a shower, it's not a living unit. So the only way you can have a living unit in the backyard is if you're zoned a 2-unit property. And that's how they get you. None of the single family units, single family zoning in Nashville can have a dadu except, that's why it's so confusing. We have one neighborhood over here where the council person put an SP over all the neighborhood so they could have a dadu. And I can tell you that not many people rushed out and did it. So they cost a lot of money to build here. And then there is some overlays district. Like if you can get 30 people in your neighborhood to agree to having a dadu overlay in your single, then you can do it. But I'm like, how do you get 30 people to agree on anything? Like, I mean, so the tiny homes here are costing, like built quality, built well, energy efficient, are probably around 150,000 to 200,000. The garage apartments here are up to 330. And that's built well. That's with not green board behind the tile. So anyway, I guess I'm just not worried about it because of the nature of how people are. That if people have been spending this kind of money, I wouldn't pay me this much money. But yeah, I'd get
Thanks, Lynn.
Anyway.
Hey, Steve, do you have your microphone turned on?
I don't know how to turn it on.
Ah, yeah, we
It's
can
on.
hear you loud and clear.
Oh, you can. Okay, I was afraid I couldn't be heard. Okay, I'm very familiar with the ADUs going back to about 5 years ago in the city of Los Angeles. And I lived in Los Angeles for several years, Burbank specifically, but I did a lot of work outside. And one of the things that everybody is familiar with is that Los Angeles has the highest population of homeless people in the country. Probably because a lot of except for right now, the weather. Right now, the weather is not very good for ADUs and for homeless people. But what happens is you get a lot of people. A lot of people think LA is all about the entertainment industry. That's probably 5% of the statistical funding and what am I trying to say here? The money that's generated from Los Angeles. They have big industrial section in South and East Los Angeles. You have automotive, you have aerospace, aircraft, and you have all kinds of other industries that contribute. And you've got a lot of wealthy people who run them. And of course, where do they live? Hollywood, Bel Air, Hollywood Hills, and Beverly Hills, and other places where they're wealthy, and they drive to Los Angeles. They drive downtown to go into the skyscraper buildings to get to work, and they see these homeless people. And so a group of them went back about 6 years ago to the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. That organization is in business for one thing and one thing only: to maintain the Hollywood Walk of Fame on Hollywood Boulevard and Vine Street and the Hollywood sign. They got nothing else to do after that. So some wealthy people in that area went to them and said, we want to do something about the homeless people. And they went to the city council, which has like 29 members the last time I remember. It could be more now. And they presented them with an idea of taking some of their property and putting a dwelling unit on it. Many of them already had guest houses on them. So they just wanted them to be able to be used to get people off the streets. And they had to meet certain criteria. They had to learn a trade, whether it be landscaping or pool cleaning or gardening or cooking or being a maid or a chauffeur. And once they were able to get a job, then they would get kicked out of their dwelling and they had enough money that they could go get their own place and then replace it with somebody else off of Skid Row. And so they presented that to the city council. City council went into adjournment. They said, we're going to discuss this. Don't go anywhere. They came back 10 minutes later with a unanimous decision in favor of it. And so it is working there, and it has spread around the country. And it came to Florida when somebody that I know, that I'm not going to mention his name, was in Los Angeles and heard about it and brought it here. And he's a member of the Board of County Commissioners here in Seminole County. And he proposed it and got it approved in Seminole County. The problem with it is, as other people have already said, I think Michael said something about it, is you can't have a bathroom. Well, we can have a bathroom in Seminole County. You can't violate the setbacks. You're going to be 10 feet from the house, and there are no variances allowed. Well, I did one, and we took it to the planning department, and they said there's one good way to get out of it. You want to get it closer to the house, you build a walkway between the house and the dwelling unit and put a roof over that walkway, and now it becomes an addition. And all of these requirements go out the window. You can do whatever you want and you can get a variance. And we did that. And we were restricted to 600 square feet. Now we can go over that. But then again, you've got other issues to deal with. And when it comes to the cooking, if you were in an ADU, you can't have an oven, any 220 appliance, but you can have a cooktop, you can have a microwave, and a toaster, and there's your cooking. Well, now that it's an addition, you can have a kitchen, because we've got a lot of houses here in Florida, in Central Florida, in fact, where you've got wealthy people that have 2 or 3 kitchens in their house and in accessory dwelling units. And they have that in Beverly Hills and other places too in Los Angeles. So when you think about it, it's a separate situation that clears away all of these problems. We got a variance for the lot in this one project that I did last year, and it worked out well, because now, you know, if you've got a bathroom, which is allowed, you're going to have hot water. You're going to have a water heater. You don't have room for a big tank water heater, so you get a tankless water heater, and that feeds the kitchen and the bathroom. Well, if you're going to have hot water, why can't you cook? Because these things take 220 volts. So now you can have a kitchen, you can have a range, because it's not an ADU anymore. It's an addition. And so all of these problems go away just by doing that. So that's an easy situation.
Thanks, Steve. I've got Vicki Wooster, I know is in the audience. I've turned your microphone on. There's Vicki. And we've got Fernando Pages in Houston. Fernando added to the chat that Houston has a plan book. And Fernando, if you're willing to come on screen, I'd like to hear more about that. And then I also noticed that Jack Butler, our coach chair, is in the house. So Jack, I've turned on your mic and camera so you could join us. Now, we may be limited on the number of people we can have on screen. So some of you that are not contributing anymore, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and drop off. I think the way to do that is you just stop sharing your camera. Hey, Fernando, nice to see you. Hi, Vicki. Thanks for joining us. Now, Vicki, you live in Bend, which is one of the cities I used as an example.
Mm-hmm. This is new with the pre-approved plan. On that regard, I don't see it as a threat to any of my work or anybody else's work, because most of the ADUs that I've been doing, they want it to match stylistically to the house. So I don't see that as an issue. I like the fact that we're doing it here, because I think the median house price in Bend is like $825,000, and the median income is like maybe $80,000. So there's a whole lot of people who can't afford to live here, even though they work here. And we're not talking just the poor folks. We're talking about middle income folks that have to go to the towns around us and commute back and forth. So being able to add these adds a really good affordable housing option. Now, before they did the pre-approved plan, you could still have an ADU if your lot was 6,000 square feet or less. Then the ADU could be no more than 600 square feet, but it could be a full ADU, kitchen, bathroom, the whole 9 yards. If you have a larger lot, then you were limited to 800 square feet. And a lot of the ones I've done have been added. Some of them have been an ADU over a garage built first, and then the main house built afterwards. They've been all sorts of different styles. Some of them have ended up being attached to the house, which then you have to go to the fire separations for the 2 units. Oregon, for anyone that doesn't know it, has a very interesting land use planning thing that went into effect in the 1970s. The state has recently stopped, or they've recently kind of eliminated a single family dwelling only zoning, which has opened it up for lots to be able to do an ADU or duplexes or triplexes, which is really helping the affordability issue. ADUs are kind of fun, and it's kind of interesting. I know there used to be, like, you couldn't have a bathroom or you couldn't have a cooking facility unless you used a hot plate. But now the ADUs are like just little tiny houses. And they're very popular. I'm doing so many of them. And like I say, you know, some of them have been very contemporary. Some of them have been modern farmhouse. Some of them have been very traditional because they were being added onto a very traditional little house. I'm all in favor of them. If my husband and I didn't already own our house, we couldn't even afford what the rent would be per month in Bend. So anything that we can do to help is fine with me. So I love the ADUs. That's all I have to say.
Thanks, Vicki. I'm learning how to put together a poll. So it's a day of learning today for most of us. So the question is, what I'm hearing from Lynn, Steve, and a little bit from you too, Vicki, is the limitations that you guys have to deal with when designing an ADU. And Steve described the way to get around the regulations by attaching the building and calling it an addition, which is very creative. But my question is should AIBD support bills that are aimed at helping with affordable housing using ADUs as the solution? So now I don't know. I've created the survey. Now I got to figure out how to launch it. Fernando?
Yes.
Hey, thanks for joining us.
Yes, my microphone works. I have no idea why, but I touched my camera and it no longer works. So I can't, you won't see me. I'm not dressed for the occasion anyway, so I guess it's better. But I just wanted to add quickly the following. In Houston, we have a new ADU. It's not really a zoning code because we have no zoning in Houston. It's a new development code. And the interesting thing about it is, one, Houston does publish a plan book that you can use for designing an ADU and have it already, on the way to approval. They still have to look at the site and things like that. But the plans are there for public use. And you can use because there is no zoning, your ADU can be in the front or in the back, and your ADU can be commercial or retail. So you could put an ADU in front of your house and sell shirts, whatever. I suppose I suppose being Houston, you could put a strip club in it, but anything you want to do because there's no zoning, you could do. You can do a commercial use, which I think is really interesting, in particular in those areas that are kind of transitional between commercial and residential, where you can actually have a home-based business with a storefront. And so I think that's a fantastic little bit of a twist on the ADU thing that Houston has implemented. They also allow you to do, I think, up to 6 units on one lot if you can fit them in with 1.5 parking spaces per unit. So you can do a compound, like imagine a family compound, or you live in it and you have several rentals on it. So I think it's for weird things. Sometimes Texas is very progressive, and other things were not.
Larry, you're also in Texas. What have you got to share with us today?
Well, the city council just passed an ordinance that prohibits single family dwellings. So I'm very opposed to that. I didn't move in this neighborhood, which is a very I'm going to say it's a high dollar neighborhood, but I don't want 60 people living next door, 3 units, an RV parked in the driveway. That's insane. That's crazy. Okay. And now they're pushing to take out all the parking, all the downtown parking. So it'll force people to have to use the train. That they want to turn downtown Austin into totally condos. So that's not helping. That's not helping any of us. The ADU thing is already set in stone here. It's 550 feet. That's max. You can cook. You can have a restroom, but the amount of drawing that goes into an ADU and a full residence, it's almost the same. I don't want to build 550 feet or draw 550 feet. I want to draw 5,000, 10,000 feet. Okay, so I don't like it a bit. Were you able to hear any of that?
Oh, absolutely.
Now then, I know that the architectural design community, they're real happy about this because now these lots can be chopped up into at least 3 pieces. In fact, I've been getting emails that have surveys, and they say, "Okay, come visit the lot. Here's the code. It's already got a fence around it. There's no demolition required. It's already been taken care of." So it's really going hard and heavy to densify, if that's a word, the areas that we have. Hey, we're not in Montana. We're not in Wyoming. We've got plenty of room. Okay, so please explain what this whole initiative is about. What is it? I'm out there. I don't know.
Good question. I don't know if I have answers. I know that by putting 2 houses on one site, even though the ADU may only have 1 bedroom and there's going to be limited population in that house, still adding a car that goes on the highway, the sewer and water. But then again, what's the difference between that and the way Steve Shard explained that we just build a bigger house and house them? Jack, I see you've joined us on screen. What do you have to say about the topic?
Well, as a planner, I can add a few more things. There are several issues that are physical impediments to being able to even physically put an ADU on a lot. Over the last 20 years, the density has really gone up in areas like Central Florida, where we have a severe housing shortage, and that they're building a lot of apartments and things in response to that. But even the single family detached dwellings have 5-foot lots. The driveway is too short for a car to park outside the garage. And the front yard is maybe a 10 or 15-foot setback. So there's physically no place for an ADU to go in the newer subdivisions that have been built over the last 20 years or so, because they're already doing the densification in order to try to make the houses at least somewhat affordable for the local market, because the cost of land development is so high. Another thing that happens is they're often treated as a second dwelling unit, complete dwelling unit, which means you're paying the full freight for impact fees, which run around $25,000 to $30,000 per accessory dwelling unit. I tried to construct an ADU in my house, which was in the traditional neighborhood part of downtown Orlando. We had space to do it because we had a double lot for our particular house. And they imposed the full impact fee requirements. They even wanted me to build sidewalks on the other side of the street. And they had some discussion about wanting me to widen the street as part of the impact mitigation impact. So there's a lot of those things. But the bigger impediment you're going to run into, even in the places where they have the space physically to put one, is restrictive covenants. Almost all subdivisions in the last 50 years will have restrictive covenants that preclude the addition of a second dwelling unit. And so that makes it extremely difficult for somebody who, even if they have the space, to be able to do that. That's why most of these bills are appearing at the state level, because the state has the power to overcome those restrictive covenant limits. For example, there was a movement about 20 years ago in Florida that eliminated the restrictive covenant that said you had to use St. Augustine grass. A lot of homeowners association were enforcing those rules, and they take a lot of water. And so as the water crisis came in, we started having droughts and things of that type. The state moved in that direction. What the state of Florida has done so far relative to the housing crisis is that they now allow you to construct houses in any zoning area. It can be in commercial, industrial, that there's no ability for local governments to restrict housing developments of affordable housing from going into any particular land use zone. But people, as Larry was talking, really likes their single family dwelling, and that there's a lot of concern about densification. In the traditional areas, it's about parking on the street. In a lot of areas that are near universities, they're concerned about college kids getting in there and the noise problems. That there is a lot of social pushback, but the planners really like densification. They want higher densities because they're looking for ability to motivate transit solutions, people to be able to walk to places. A study was done many years ago that found places with zoning suffered a lot from evolution over time. That new subdivision with all the new houses in it is as good as it's ever going to be as soon as that last house is sold. From there on, it's a state of decline because it has no way to evolve. It has no way for some houses that are close to the main highway to be turned into businesses. Again, because of restrictive covenants, if not even for the zoning. So the evolution of traditional neighborhoods in cities that grew no longer is possible in most of the subdivision areas that we have existing today. So there are a lot of inherent physical limitations and legal limitations that restrict how far the ADU movement can go.
Well, the survey, we've had almost 3/4 of everybody on screen or in the webinar have, Jack, don't go away. This question is going to be directed at you. I know we had Ted Haig, but I think Ted had to leave. So Jack, you're the only other board member we have today with us. And the survey so far has come back 60%. Well, now it's 58%. Yes, AIBD should support bills aimed at helping with affordable housing using ADUs. 12% no, and whatever the remaining percentage is has abstained. So if the board of directors was to take a position on this, which we have the policies for doing so, and I think we've just run out of our 1 hour, so I apologize for going over time, everyone. But this, if you have to leave, the video of this will be posted on YouTube, hopefully tomorrow. We're experimenting with that too, but the recording's supposed to automatically go right to our YouTube channel, AIBD Online. So anyway, back to my question, Jack and Ted, thanks for coming back. What as board members, how do you kind of see that position being drafted, and what would it say? Go ahead, Ted.
I don't see it being a problem for 99.9% of designers, because very few of us, like Larry said, design these small houses. There's only so many ways you can put a box together. I could see it as a service from designer's office to the local communities that may draw in other business. But no, you're not going to make a living designing these things. So I don't see it as a threat to designers. I see it as a promotional, here we go. That's my
I think it potentially opens a new market. I think that it's not really a threat to our professionals of designing accessory dwelling units just because they have some stock plans that may be available in a local community, because they're always going to want to make some changes to it. You've got to do site plans. There's always stuff that you have to work on. So I think to the extent that we need to issue any sort of official statement from the board, it would be that we do not find this issue to be a problem for our members in terms of unfair competition or a threat to our businesses for local communities to have a few pre-approved plans. I think if anything, it encourages more communities to look at accessory dwelling units, and therefore there'll be more things to try to fit into unusual spaces, and that's going to require design professional services in order to be able to make that work. You're not going to be able to go into House Plan magazine and order something, out of the book and have it fit right away. No, you're going to have to try to get this to work with whatever you've already got. So I think it actually increases business rather than decreases it, even if they have stock plans available to go.
How about from the aspect of creating affordable home? From your experience in working with municipalities, Jack, is that able to be accomplished with this movement?
I think the planning profession is getting smarter about things. They are becoming a little less in love with zoning. They're certainly pushing to get rid of a lot of the single family residential restrictions that they see the impact of movements like strong towns, where the cost of infrastructure has to be taken into account. We find that redevelopment is a good thing to do to the extent that you can resist gentrification relative to affordable housing. That if you're driving people out of their existing neighborhoods because somebody with more money wants to buy the house, tear it down, and build something new, that accessory dwelling units and things of that type allow multi-generational families to live together, and that's especially increasing in the United States as we have a mix of additional foreign families here, that they're more used to grandparents helping raise the kids and that side of thing, so that the living in place community efforts that are ongoing are also supporting the accessory dwelling unit type of activity where somebody else can come in. I personally just had a friend who actually did that. He and his daughter lived near each other. It became necessary for her to care more for him, and they've built an accessory dwelling unit for him in the backyard of their house in order for him to be closer and to take care of those types of things. So I think that as people live longer and have more resources, that we'll be seeing those types of movements, and ADU is just another facilitator for that.
Thanks, Jack. Mike Battaglia, you had your hand raised. Go ahead and close this out for us.
As a member and a design professional that I'll call myself, uh, if I was going to ask the board to do anything on this, I would basically I'd ask the board to take the stand of uh, reasonable design within the confines of the jurisdiction. There's some way to resolve all of these issues. There's, as Jack used the best term so far, multi-generational dwelling. I've been there. Uh, that is probably a bigger of an issue. Affordable housing is one thing. Affordable housing for elderly is another thing. But I would support something that the AIBD board would to put together for supporting the concepts of ADUs in neighborhoods.
All right, everybody, thank you very much. I'm always blown away at how quickly everybody volunteers to get involved when we bring up issues like this. And so taking time out of your busy schedules to help provide us a little perspective has been very much appreciated. So thank you very much. Keep an eye on the Monday Minute. We're hopefully going to be able to create more of these idea swaps, roundtable discussions, and hopefully get back into doing some instructional Tuesday at 2 webinars as well. So until then, remember, sign up for our next conference, Design and Build North Myrtle Beach, coming up March 7th and 8th. If you're going to IBS, join us with our pizza party, aibd.org/pizza-party. That's February 27th in Las Vegas. And if you're thinking about going to IBS and you're like, oh, I forgot to get my pass, I can't go now, then go to the pizza party page. There's a link to get a free expo pass. And I'm sure there's something else that's going on that I'm forgetting. Make sure that you're getting the Monday Minute email. We try to include it all in there. So again, thank you very much for taking your time out. It's great to see everybody's faces. And I can't wait to catch up on the chat. I was busy turning on everybody's microphones and cameras, and I missed a lot of the chat. So I'll go back and read that later. So again, have a great afternoon, everybody. Thanks a lot.